Welcome, everybody, to this council meeting on September 22nd. I'd like to call the meeting to order and confirm that we do have quorum, and I will call the meeting to order at exactly 5:30 p.m. And with that, Councillor Cloutier, would you mind reading the land acknowledgement statement?
Yes. I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg under the terms of the Robinson-Huron Treaty number 61 of 1850 and the Williams Treaty of 1923. We commit to acknowledge, learn, educate, create opportunity, honor sacred places, and take actions towards real truth and reconciliation in support of our commitment to walking the path together in respect, peace, and harmony for future generations.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none, we'll move right along to our invited presentation. Just clicking my thing there. And we do have Carl Pahopel of Pahopel and Associates CPA here to talk about our audited financial statements. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've been asked to come and present the results of the annual audit of the books and records of the township of Huntsville. We are the external auditors, and this report is for your financial statements for your fiscal year ended December 31st, 2024. So I would like to essentially outline that our audit is conducted in accordance with standards that are established by our professional body. So it's called generally accepted auditing standards. We have to follow those standards. We come in, we review your I was going to say books and records. Books is something some of us may still remember. Nowadays it's computers and records, but in any event, so we come in, we review your information systems in terms of processes, internal controls, any weaknesses that we may identify. And we conduct detailed tests. We do analytical procedures. We conduct interviews with staff. So it's a comprehensive, thorough, rigorous audit process. And we've completed that audit. And today I'm reporting on the results of that audit. So I'm happy to report that we've completed our audit, and that the opinion that we're issuing is, again, an unqualified opinion. I was presenting at Gravenhurst last week, and someone asked a question that, what do you mean unqualified? Is it not good for anything? So no, unqualified is the results you'd like to have and want to have, because that means there are no issues with the financial statements, essentially. So, so I thought I'd just make sure I wouldn't get that question today. But in any event, so it's an unqualified auditor's report. It's in standard format. There is one emphasis on one matter, refers to note 2 in the financial statements, and that's simply the adoption of a new revenue standard, the 3400 revenue standard. In respect of that, you deferred some revenue on building permits until the work is essentially done. So it's a new standard that you adopted for fiscal 2024. Otherwise, as I say, it's in standard format. It does take 2 or 3 pages to say everything that we need to say in terms of the auditor's report, but essentially that is our report, if you will, clean, unqualified report on the financial statements. We also, concurrent with the issuance of the auditor's report, we provide what's called a post-audit letter. That post-audit letter deals with if we identify any concerns in terms of internal controls, processes, transactions, accounting issues, anything like that. And again, I'm pleased to report that we have no findings to report in the audit findings letter. So it is a clean letter, like I say, with no errors or comments provided in that letter. And those are my comments on our auditor's report and the results of our audit work.
Thank you very much for that, especially for the unqualified part. No, it's always a pleasure reading the letter from you saying that things are in good shape, and that's always appreciated. Are there questions from council regarding our this presentation? I don't see any because you did such a fantastic job. That's why. Okay.
May I say one more
Yes, you
thing?
may.
I just
Yes.
wanted to thank Julia and Suzanne obviously from your finance team.
Yeah.
It is always, my team finds it a pleasure to work with them. They are very knowledgeable, very strong in what they do, and you are very blessed to have that type of finance department, in our opinion.
Thank you for saying that. We also appreciate hearing that. Yeah. No, yeah, we're safe for, no, Councillor Stone will ignore that you said that. No kidding. That's, thank you for highlighting that too. Much appreciated. And we're also well aware of how lucky we are. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. With that, we are going to move along to agenda item number 5 regarding deputations. And we do happen to have 2 today, starting with James Murphy from Explorer's Edge to do a project update for us. I believe you do have a colleague with you, so perhaps you can do the introductions, James.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Happy Monday. My name is James Murphy. I'm the CEO of Explorer's Edge. Pleasure to be here as always. Familiar faces are nice. I'd like to introduce you to Jennifer Montpetit. She's been hired on as our partnership manager. So she's been with us for 6 weeks. So this is her first deputation. I said this council is one of the nicest. So let's keep her hopes up, and she's still with us. So then we'll start with that. So this is a project update. I believe this was circulated to everybody. So we're going to walk through an update and walk through the sort of the realities and sort of what we're up to now. Okay, let's get organized here. Top button. Oh, there we go. We're in Jessica. We're in. So the original partnership, we were here in 2023 to do a partnership and was Catalyst Housing, a foundational framework. We were trying to understand better what was happening in Huntsville and piloting in Huntsville. And the goal was to conduct a detailed tourism gap analysis. So the idea behind the Catalyst Housing was the housing was going to be sort of the carrot to get people up here, but really once they were in the housing, how do they contribute to the local economy? And we wanted to understand what the labor gaps were with the businesses, because we want to put in training programs while they were in the housing, move them along the housing continuum. So we presented, worked closely with Lauren. By the way, thank you for all your help along the way, Lauren. She's been nudging us and very pleasant to work with. The town contributed $15,000 towards a research delivered by Environics. It was all done. We partnered, competitive process, Environics, and the research scope was labor shortages, understanding the skills gap, and understanding what the needs were for the Huntsville in particular. We ended up with 9 operators that were surveyed across accommodation, food and beverage, and outdoor adventure. Most of them operate year-round, tourism dependent, and rely on visitor revenue. The average workforce with this small sample size was 7 full-time, 9 seasonal, 3 part-time, and there was a high turnover amongst those that responded. The hardest to fill roles that came out of this small sample was kitchen, housekeeping, wait staff, front desk, and maintenance, and 44% of provided staffing housing. So most employers at that time provided staffing housing, but they did identify public transportation as a critical workforce need. But down to the crux why we're here today, sort of giving you an update. We only had 9 responses. 33 were attempted, and it was a high drop-off rate. So we're getting into a very $30,000 project, and with the drop-off, people weren't completing the survey, and this was coming post-pandemic. They were citing survey fatigue. If we can, I know nobody wants to think back to that point in time, but when we think back in time, there's a lot of surveys going out from provincial, everybody's being surveyed. So the drop-off was there. Sample size for this was hoping to get up to 60 to 80 operators to really understand what the labor gaps were. But, 9 completed, 33 drop-offs. We did webinars hosted by Kate and Kelly Haywood, supporting invitations to accommodators. We did a phone tree, everything. Out of fiduciary responsibility and not wasting taxpayer money, ours and yours as well, we halted the program. It became clear that the response volume didn't yield results, and there's a point of diminishing return where you've got to stop going out. And there was fatigue, not only survey fatigue, but I think fatigue, I feel, in my opinion, fatigue amongst businesses in general. It was a tough time, the pandemic. Meanwhile, Huntsville, in the same time, Huntsville housing environment has changed. There was entities getting into housing. I don't need to tell you that. You can look around sort of the housing developments coming out, and you've done great strides with sort of closing that gap. So transparency for project financials. I just put this in the presentation to be open and transparent. That's a mantra of ours. So we got into $15,000 of the project spend, the program data collection, data map. I will preface it by saying AI has changed a lot on the research front now. You can do it cheaper, quicker yourself, and you don't need big companies like Environics. That being said, at that time, we decided to halt it halfway through and keep back half of the money. So we didn't end up doing the labor shortage segmentation. We only had 9 responses, or the final report, or the sort of presentation. 33% drop off. We decided to halt the project. What was going on? That's sort of our mantra. If it's not working, we just have to make the call, and there's only so far you can go. I take full responsibility for sort of not getting the responses, halting the project. We did make Lauren aware and your team aware that it was being halted and whatnot. So it wasn't done just strictly in isolation. So what we've done is there is a $7,500 credit that of money that's unspent. Rather than go out and do more surveys, kind of learned our lesson, and lots of surveys are happening. There's lots of intelligence out there. We took a step back and proposed initiative for the partnership credit. We came up with a couple programs, and I'll get into them now. One is with OTEC, and it's a inclusive service excellence workshop for frontline training of staff that are currently in the area. And the second one is a Lakehead University Specialized High School Major Program. We've done this already in Bracebridge, and it has worked very well. And it's high school students learn tourism marketing, traveler profiles. They do challenges. They do a fam trip. So it gets into and we don't have tourism in the high school majors program. So it's innovative, and our economy is based on tourism. So it's twofold. It's one, getting into the high schools, and 2, frontline staff. So it's actually works out better than just doing another survey, respectfully. So together, it's immediate frontline impact, but it's long-term youth workforce pipeline. I'll leave my comments brief on post-secondary education, but the tourism industry within the post-secondary education is going through a transition right now. We relied on international students, and that stopped, and we lost sight of high school students and those within our own communities. So this addresses some of that. So this is, in working with Lauren, again, we looked at the town's economic development strategy, sort of 4 goals: strengthen economic development capacity, OTEC service excellence improves on investments already made and works with a readiness to enhance visitor experience. Very important. Encourage community economic development. OTEC fosters inclusivity and service excellence, and skills, specialized high school major supports youth retention and post-secondary partnerships. And then goal 3, support workforce development and growth. And goal 4, foster innovative and market the town. So not only with OTEC, but now we're working with the high schools and Lakehead ties into Parks Canada. And we'll get into a little more detail. That timer's really on me. So the initiative 1, you have it in front of you, is to equip frontline supervisory and management staff with skills to go beyond basic customer service. We're looking at 25 attendees. It's a day-long workshop. It's delivered by a certified experienced trainers. They'll come here and we'll host employees from businesses. The focus is move beyond basic service to consistently deliver memorable and exceptional guest experiences, right? So we'll get a host of businesses that bring in, have staff attend. Of note, and in speaking to Lauren, this is specifically for Huntsville catchment of the region. So we will we'll work with the businesses here to send out their frontline staff. Learning outcomes, key skills learned, apply emotional intelligence, communication, use service recovery processes, explore customer service perspective needs. So it's really a hands-on come and learn. The second one is an inclusive tourism specialized high school major program. As I just noted, we don't have a specialized high school major program in the high school right now. And we do work with the high school on Big Applause Awards and whatnot. And we have some online programs that are in the high schools as well too. But the partnership is with Lakehead and Huntsville High School. We haven't officially contacted Huntsville High School. We're waiting to sort of get your comments on this with you now. We have done this in the spring with Bracebridge High School and Lakehead University, and it worked fantastic. So it's experiential learning and career exploration. They have reach ahead experiences and partnered experience with local tourism operators. In this case, they work with Parks Canada. So we take the students Bethune House, learn about market segmentation, marketing, and it's hands-on. But more importantly, it gets in tourism into the high schools, and it works very well. So it covers tourism marketing, travel segmentation, package experiences. And this route is quick and to the point, and they already have ends Lakehead with the school Trillium Lakelands University. So it's difficult sometimes going in cold, but since the relationship's already there, because we've done it in the region, it's doable and exciting. So skills awareness, they learn about real tourism markets and career pathways, very important, especially in an environment and area that's relying on tourism. Builds a youth pipeline into tourism careers, connects high school students with post-secondary and industry mentors, and supports Huntsville's strategy for workforce development and youth retention. So the financial overview, again, open and transparent. There is a credit for $7,500. We would allocate, and I'd work with Julia on the sort of the dot the I's and cross the T's with tax and all that. But off the top, it's $5,000 that would go in the OTEC workshop. And the Lakehead Specialized High School Major Program is $2,500. It's a contribution. They put in their own money into the project as well too. So that's a contribution. And this delivers immediate impact and future workforce impacts. So we'd hope to get this with a blessing as the outcome of this deputation, to have it done before Christmas or shortly thereafter, and see where the dust settles, rather than go back and do another survey. So respectfully, we working with Lauren, we came up with something, and Jennifer as well too, came up with something that's actually a bit more exciting, a bit more hands-on, gets in front of the businesses, and gets more importantly, not more importantly, but just as importantly, into the high schools. So just to give you sort of a larger overview as I wrap this up, we do have upcoming projects. We are embarking on an Indigenous youth tourism strategy with funding from FedNor. We've selected a consultant, we're moving forward with that. We have our regional tourism summit, and it's rooted around the outdoors, and it has a camping theme. It's at the KOA in Parry Sound. Diva Dialogues, which is a 2S LGBT plus dialogue that has presentations from the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. And also we have a panel discussion with business owners that have access and got into the LGBT market. And we're shortly launching our regenerative travel agency. We've going through the process of hiring a travel agent, which will allow us to do, we have a TICO license, so we're going to package inbound packages and disperse them throughout the region, which is very exciting, especially with the return of the Ontario Northland and ability to access international markets, and a lot's changing out there now. So alignment with regional partners, since I have your attention in doing this, we do have regular meetings with the accommodation tax groups. We're exploring coordinating research planning with them, and planning, marketing, promotions, travel packages. I'm running over the travel packages very quickly, but it's important because the days of saying hits to the website and views, in my opinion, tourism is more than that. So actually showing the path to purchase of marketing, and then actually buying a package is very important to give the industry credibility. Return of Ontario Northland, and then, like I said, research programs with the MAT organizations, the Chamber and whatnot. partnership in progress. We already have partnerships. Jennifer's our partnership manager. We do have partnerships in progress with the relaunch of the Eclipse Walk of Light and the Ontario 55 Winter Games. I believe we just have a signed MOU came back today with Kelly and her team, and the Ontario Winter Games is supporting that through our partnership program. So just to wrap it up, the original partnership identified clear workforce gaps. The proposed initiative also addressed immediate service excellent long-term youth retention. And we're asking you to reallocate that money rather than do more research and stuff with Environics to go and do something that will have a better impact on the business. And so,
That's great. Thanks,
Sorry.
thanks, James. And thank you, Jennifer, for being here. Interesting presentation. You know the drill that we'll wait till the end of the meeting under new
Oh,
business
sure, no
when we
problem.
discuss it. But in the meantime, there might be questions from Councillor
Sure.
Fitzgerald.
Worship.
moving.
Thank you. Thank you, James. Thanks for coming
Yeah.
and doing the presentation. I think about tourism in our community, and it's evolved so much and changed so many times. And it seems like you have the ability to pivot here and respond to what's required. So when we have our discussion later, I'll be happy to support it. But keep up the good work. We have to figure out how to get these kids engaged in the community and try and stay in our community and work in our community. So anything we can do with the high schools, fantastic. Again, you know, the education system's changed on you overnight.
much.
So there's exciting options for the kids out there, you know, a world to see and a world to travel. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for that. Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, thank you, James, and welcome, Jennifer, to the team, which is great. I echo what Councillor Fitzgerald just said. The one thing I agree that we have tourism here, and it's something that I'm surprised that we don't have something in the high school already to support these children. I've been involved with the Halliburton School of the Arts, and there is a grade 12 program in the high school where they actually share a degree around. They take courses through the Halliburton School of the Arts and through it's almost the same what you're proposing. The one thing that I'd like to see, and I know this is just a small drop in the bucket, like $7,500, but the feedback and the impact once you've taken this and run with it, that you can come back and tell us
Absolutely.
what, where it's going. And I'm sure you will. I'm sure Lauren's nodding her head back there too, but that's what I'd like to see, like a return on investment, even though right now it's a very small investment. But if it works well, I mean, this was HMATA money too that we're investing in, and what a great way to invest the money in tourism in our community. So I'd love to see some feedback after that.
Absolutely feedback. And I just want to preface that there's a lot of passionate teachers at the high school doing great work with tourism and hospitality and culinary. That's not to diminish it, but this gets more into the crux of having something registered as a high school majors program, and it gives it a bit more credibility. But I just want to preface that it doesn't diminish the passion that's at the high school level, and there's some great teachers and great advocates there. This just makes it a bit more formal and doing this program. But definitely we'll be back with updates and yeah, see where it goes from there.
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions? Okay, I don't see any. Thank you for your presentation
Yeah,
again.
no problem. Thank you for having me.
It was great.
And I do apologize for such a lag and getting back to you. I take full responsibility for that, but we didn't want to waste any money and we want to get it right. So there you are. So thank you.
That approach, actually, I quite appreciate.
Oh,
I think
thank
that
you,
makes
Nancy.
all the
Thank
sense
you,
in the world.
Nancy.
Yeah.
We're all on the hook for taxpayers'
Yeah,
money.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so there you go. Thank you kindly.
Bye. Okay, moving right along, we do have another deputation. Holly is here from the chamber to talk about the skating rink in Rivermill Park.
Hello, good evening,
Welcome.
everyone. Hi. Hello, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's sort of crazy that we're already talking about skating, but here we are. So thank you for taking the time to listen today. Really, what I'd like to request tonight is basically a standing approval to run this annually. So I'll keep it nice and short, but I just want to talk a little bit about how the rink went. We just finished our second year with the rink. The first year, we didn't have the refrigeration units. And then, of course, with the money from Hamada, we purchased those, which extends the season quite substantially. The first year, of course, we had a warmer season and we had about, I think it was 14 days of skating. So this substantially extends it into, 4 to 5 months potentially. So yeah, so we're looking for, that approval. I just want to go over a couple things. Oh, yeah, my clicker here. I'm going to do it right. Yes. So I've got my partners in the back, Peter from Rotary and Rachel from the VIA. But the community impact on this is incredible. We had thousands of people come down to the rink over the course of the season. Of course, it was a cold season, so it was a great one for skating. But it was just a great way to activate the downtown and have a very traditional Canadian, tourism asset to draw people in. Partnerships, there they are in the back. This one. Oops. So the BIA, Rachel at the BIA and Dan from the festival were incredible this year to help me sort of activate it. So we had skated movie nights and we had DJ glow nights on the weekends. And then of course, this is a picture of us doing ice cream sundaes on Sunday. So it was a really fun way to just, drive more tourism and things to do in Huntsville. Oops, I went backwards. So the ongoing approval is really important because it just allows us to focus on getting more sponsorships, planning more programming moving forward, so we can just continue to operate that way. Yeah. I will make a note before it's maybe brought up, is there was substantial damage, I guess we can call it, to the grass, but it was not because of the rink. The year before it was the exact same construction, mind you, without the refrigeration units. But the construction itself does not damage the grass. It was the construction, the excavating to put in the light canopy that is scheduled to go in shortly. So this year we'll have the canopy over it as well. But moving forward, we're very confident that the damage won't be done and there will be repercussions. Obviously, we will, put aside money between Kelly and I to fix it if any should happen, but I can't see it happening. So we've got our lovely Doug Profit that he's going to be installing. So he takes good care of everything in town. But yeah, so we have a strategic plan to make sure everything goes well and that it's, the park is well used and taken care of. So with that, I think that's it for me.
And you have 6 minutes and 47
I know,
seconds left.
I gave you back. There, you're welcome.
Would you like to come back? Is there anything else you forgot? No kidding. That was a great presentation.
Okay,
Thank
you're
you. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Worship. Thanks, Haley.
Yeah.
I know what a labor of love this is. We do the rink in Port City
Yes.
Lions Club. And it gets used by so many people, and the impact is so great in the community. So I'm happy to support this.
Thank you.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Hallie.
Yeah.
I think the impact that it has on tourism, but also the locals. And
Yes.
I love that you put in the community aspect because I've heard from so many people, locals, there's a skating rink downtown, and there's music, and there's just, so it's such a benefit to the community and obviously to downtown, which
Yes.
is always close to my heart. So
yes,
yeah,
of
thank you
course,
for the work
yes,
that all of you
yes,
did.
Yes, thank you.
Ditto.
Thank you. Yeah, Rachel actually has some great plans to activate around it, around the holiday market, to do sort of a Christmas market with all of the lighting that she's proposed. I know, shocking. Rachel has something to do with Christmas.
Rachel has an idea? Wow, that's unusual.
But yeah, so it's going to be very exciting and I hope to grow it. So yes, that would be great. Thanks.
Are there any other questions at this point? Okay,
Yes.
that's it. And
Good.
you know the
Thank
drill.
you.
You'll talk
Thank you.
about it
Thank
later.
you.
Thank you very much for coming in. Okay, so moving right along to council minutes. I have a motion moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that the following council meeting minutes be adopted as printed and circulated. Regular council, July 28th, 2025. Special Planning Council, August 8th, 2025. And regular Planning Council, September 10th, 2025. Questions or comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? And that carries. Okay, so moving to reports from committees, reports for information, starting with the Huntsville Public Library Board. We have minutes from July 4th, 2025. Councillor Cluche, is there anything you'd like to add?
Nothing to add there as written. It's a good turnout.
I think I did have a question, but I've forgotten, so there we go. Any other, no questions? All right, we'll move to the Downtown Huntsville BIA. We have minutes from July 10th and August 14th. Councillor Renwick, anything to add?
Thank you, Your Worship. And through you, the meeting from July 10th seems like such a long time ago, but the minutes are there for you to look at, and if you have any questions, and also with the August 14th, that was not as long ago, but there's nothing in there that I really want to highlight, but there's certainly, all the information is there if you want to see it, so.
There's certainly a lot of information. There's always a lot going on with the BIA. So thank you for that. All right, and then moving to Huntsville Lake of Bays Chamber of Commerce, again, June 20th minutes, Councillor Renwick. Anything?
No, at this,
Oh,
sorry,
my apologies, that's Councillor Clark. Anything to add?
No, nothing to add, thanks.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'd forgotten that we had done that transfer. All right,
Actually, Your Worship, I think at that time I may have still been on, so. I
okay,
think I did,
all right,
so it's
so,
okay.
all right.
You took the words out of my mouth, Councillor,
Okay.
so.
So I've managed to just embarrass both of you. That's great, good. Not my intention. There you go. All right, so moving to the Aspenden Community Hall Ad Hoc Committee, we do have minutes from September 15th. Anything you might add, Councillor Schumacher?
I did attend. I
Okay.
did have to leave early though. So yeah, no, minutes are there. If anyone has questions, just was excited. I walked in the door and could use Wi-Fi. So that's very excited.
I noticed that was in the minute. They must be excited. That's great.
I'd heard from Ian in July, and then of course, as we had August off, and then I walked in September 15th, and
Yep.
there's a blue light
Ooh,
above.
wow.
Yeah, so very exciting.
No, that's great. All right, yeah, Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Your Worship. Congratulations on Wi-Fi at Aspen, and that's a big deal for the community there. It means a lot because a lot of people don't have it or can't afford it. So great
Yeah,
community outreach.
it's an opportunity, and also I think their goal was to create a bit more with programming to be able to do there, and for people to do like a PowerPoint presentation, because I know they have people who rent but didn't have necessarily the ability to do it from, you know, their laptops and stuff that they have. So I think it's going to be a huge asset for them, for the community, because it's also a community hub. If anything does happen, you know, and there's issues like we have our Summit Center is the area to connect and get together. It is out there for them, right? So to
Yeah, I
have
think that's an excellent point, and
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
and then
is
it
a
makes
hub.
things like the AD that we connect and the things that we use as the facility out there are going to be able to connect to the Wi-Fi too, because that's the way we're going for the future.
Just a follow-up on that, Your Worship. Do we know who the service provider is? Did Lakeland provide service out there? Is it an alternate provider? Or
Is it Bell?
I'd be curious to know.
I'm not sure. Good question.
Maybe if you
It
can let
wasn't,
us
I
know,
don't
'cause
think it was in the minutes, though.
They
I don't-
were
It wasn't.
very
No, it was-
generous with
it
the
was
other
Ian.
halls. So
Tanya'd be able to find out probably from
We
Ian,
can,
but
we
I know
can,
it's
we
antenna.
can circle
based.
back with you, Councillor
Curious mind.
Fitzgerald. We
Thanks.
can.
It's antenna based.
All right. Thank you both for that. So moving along to reports for adoption. I have a motion moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Deputy Mayor Armour. Be it resolved that the General Committee meeting minutes dated July 30th, 2025, and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as printed and circulated. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Okay. Then I have another motion moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Schumacher. Be it resolved that the Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting minutes dated July 29th, 2025, and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as printed and circulated. Again, questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. All right, and we are now, look at that, we are already at agenda number 8, starting with reports from municipal officers. 8.1, David Zilke is here with us to discuss report number Development 2025-96, Safe and Active School Routes. And I do have a motion, which I'm going to read, and then I will turn it over to David. It has been moved by Councillor Cluche, seconded by Councillor Renwick, whereas the town of Huntsville is committed to improving access to active transportation, and whereas school zones are an especially important area to prioritize road safety, and now therefore be it resolved that Council directs staff to apply for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Safe and Active School Routes funding opportunity, and further that staff be directed to collaborate with the District Municipality of Muskoka and the Trillium Lakelands District School Board to plan, install, and monitor the efficacy of active transportation infrastructure around schools in the town of Huntsville. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Mayor. And through you, good evening, Council. Tonight, I'm here to ask for Council direction to apply for funding through the FCM program that the Mayor just outlined that would supplement the town's efforts in traffic calming and active transportation infrastructure development within the town of Huntsville. The Safe and Active Schools program is a 2-year program where a cohort of municipalities across Canada will work together to share ideas, plan, implement, and monitor the efficacy of active transportation infrastructure improvements in and around school zones. FCM provides a grant for up to 50% of eligible project costs, which includes both temporary and permanent infrastructure improvements as eligible activities. These could be things like bollards, crosswalks, speed deterrence, speed enforcement, among several other opportunities. This program connects directly with our strategic plan to provide balanced growth by fostering safe and car-free mobility opportunities for students and their caregivers to travel to and from school, in addition to protecting our natural environment by mitigating climate change through a reduction of carbon-emitting vehicles on the road traveling to and from school. Staff are proposing to support this using funds in the 2026 budget that have already been allocated towards traffic calming measures, but at this time, we're not requesting funding, just direction to move forward with this. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for your presentation. It's certainly timely, given the discussions we've had around traffic calming measures. Council, are there questions around this report? Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, very quickly. Do you have any areas that you would like to target in particular? If the grant money should get through, we should receive it.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, we've started to have some preliminary discussions about that. Certain areas that stand out would be Spruce Glen Public School, not having a sidewalk to be enabling students to walk to and from. Riverside was also raised as another potential opportunity, but we're really in the early stages of this. And ideally, what's nice about this program is that we can go forward with an application. And should that change as we work with other cohort municipalities to learn more about this and better ways we can implement this, we're not bound to the application that we submit early on. We can make changes to that down the road.
Councillor Schumacher.
I'm definitely in favor, and to Councillor Armour's point, specific areas looking at, I guess, my goal too would be that this doesn't become, I like the idea of the calming strategies and the things we would implement that are permanent. And it's not just because I think right now people look at the signs and they think Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, I only have to drive 40 here. And then on a weekend, I don't have to, right? But how many kids do we know use those playgrounds on a weekend? How many families are going to the playground on the weekend? And for example, I just did the Veterans Walk and we had to go to the Summit Center and the crosswalk in front of the high school. It doesn't have a light and nobody stops on Brunel Road on a weekend. And yes, I'm not a high school student at all, but trying to cross that walk with like 5 or 6 of us that were doing the Veterans Walk, until I stepped onto the road, did somebody finally stop for us to be able to cross there. And so having something like a light there that people could use as well on the weekend, and that, you know, kids are trying to get to the Summit Center and do that, I think this is a good step towards making our community overall safe in all respects.
Thank you, Councillor Schumacher. I'm going to Councillor Cluche, followed by Councillor Fitzgerald, followed by Councillor Renwick. No, you did, but that's okay.
To you. As a few, you know, I just recently come back from another country, and I would say 95% of the schools have the traffic bollards at them, and that's on the highways, on the back streets, or anywhere the school is, those traffic calming bollards are up everywhere. It didn't matter what highway it was, so they work.
Thank you for that. Look at that. Your trip is paying off. Spades. Wow. Wow. I think I'm going to Councillor Fitzgerald next, and then Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Worship, and thanks for the report. I appreciate it. Would fully support going ahead with the grant application. I wonder if sometimes we overlook pedestrian safety in a school zone outside of the school timeframes. You know, in the summer, we haven't addressed that crosswalk at all, and it's busy, and people are heading to the Summit Center and other things down there, water. So maybe it brings a broader scope to investigate as well. But no, thanks for the report. I think we should proceed.
Thank you. Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, and thank you, David. This is your first report to council, is it not?
I was here for, yes, second through you, Mayor. It was integrated watership management was my
Oh,
first,
right,
but
okay.
really that was a formality, it sounded like, so.
Okay, I wasn't here for that one. Anyway, but thank you for this. I am also in favor, wholeheartedly in favor of this. The thing, I did a little deep dive in the actual program, the actual Safe School zoning funding, and I found some incredible ways to look at bollards and having, painting them and having them as permanent structures. The only sort of thing that sort of went off in my mind is that with permanent installations, we do have to look at winter maintenance. Obviously, that's going to be a big component of the challenges. So even just accounting for seasonal operations. So that's something obviously we'll look at in the future. But I think the potential to make something, interesting and safe for our students is really exciting. So, my kids went to Huntsville Public School, and they've already changed the laneway there on Caroline Street just to have buses. But the traffic sometimes is great. So hope we get it. Thank you.
Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Alcock. Yeah, definitely in support of anything we can do to try to improve school zones in particular. Huntsville High School, Spruce Glen, those are definitely areas that I get a lot of calls from residents about that have concerns about their kids walking and the school. So definitely in support of this, and hopefully we can make some improvements to the areas that we all know are of significant concern.
Thank you for that. I will echo all of that. I think it's great that you're finding funding opportunities for projects that we've actually already identified as being very important to our community. So thank you for that. And with that, I am going to call the question. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much, all.
Okay, so moving to our next. Okay, Maria's here and Reba to talk about report number Corp 2025-63 Pitmans Bay update. We do have a motion, and I am going to read it. It has been moved by Councillor Stone, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that Resolution 9-25 be amended as follows, striking out the following: to formally wind up the trust and relieve the town of its obligations as trustee pursuant to the terms of the 1951 agreement, and include in the court order a statutory declaration, inserting after court order to amend the terms of the trust agreement created by the 1951 agreement pursuant to the Cypre doctrine, and to include adding the following after the first paragraph, and further that a new trust agreement be prepared in consultation with the Mary Lake Association to maintain the use of the property for youth education and recreation purposes to the satisfaction of the CAO, and further that the CAO be authorized to execute all documents related to obtaining the court order, and further that staff be directed to report back on any procedural bylaw amendments required to accommodate the advisory panel. Over to you. Whew. Whew.
Thank you. So through you, Mayor Alcock, just to provide kind of, that was a very long recommendation to basically amend the original motion that was passed in January. So after that report, we had some community members come forward with some concerns about winding up the trust and the longevity of that, and really using the property in perpetuity at Pittman's Bay for youth education and recreation purposes. So we did go back to our legal team, and this is essentially sort of a pivot in recommendation. So rather than winding up the trust, we are recommending amending the existing trust. So we will still have a trust in place with a new trust agreement that includes an advisory panel rather than the church management board that is currently in the existing agreement. Essentially, the agreement will be between the town as the the town as the trustee, and sort of the youth of the town of Huntsville. So the town of Huntsville is beneficiary on behalf of the youth. So it's really an agreement between the town and the town that includes an advisory panel to help, ensure that the property is used for youth education and recreation in perpetuity. And I think we did meet with the Mary Lake Association on this idea and this recommendation moving forward, and I think everybody was really pleased with the idea. So the whole point of this is to maintain the property in perpetuity for these purposes. So we're available for questions.
Okay, I'm going to Councillor Fitzgerald, number 1.
Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate you recognizing me this evening. I'm happy to see this come, and I'm glad we came to a resolution that everyone appears to be happy with. It seemed tricky and expensive in the onset, and I think we've come to a great end of this to solve the problem. So good work, and thank you.
Okay, Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you. Yes, totally in support of this. I know I had attended the Mary Lake Association meeting in person. They were very happy to hear that this council does promote youth in perpetuity on that property. Just what had been addressed to, I think, myself and to Councillor Fitzgerald is the concern of, well, that's great, your council's great, but what happens 4 years from now? What happens with the next set? And how do we know that this will continue, because their goal is for the youth of the community and to see it. And again, as I've always said, for myself, as a Girl Guide there, that was an experience that I think is none other than an opportunity that everybody should get to promote. So I'm totally wholeheartedly with this, because it does move forward for a community that's what they would want to see, and for the town, that's what we want to see. So it puts it on the books.
I also endorse, I think this is a good solution. I am curious, the 2 youth representatives, what's your thinking around that? What organizations you might be approaching, and what you're thinking of with respect to those representatives?
So we left it intentionally vague for a reason, because we want this agreement to stand the test of time. And I think that's kind of the issue that we ran into with the current agreement, is by naming specific organizations, it's a little bit difficult. In 50 years, are those specific organizations going to want to continue? So this is really, we're not sure yet who the 1 or 2 representatives and it needs to be an active youth education and recreation organization. So a recognized organization that promotes youth education and recreation. That's something that I'm sure our Director of Community Services will help us out with, as she is on the Pittman's Bay project team. So I'm sure we've got some ideas coming up.
That's good. I like the fact that it is flexible. When you say organizations, I would think that if it's flexible enough that there are individuals that are involved in some way in delivering services to youth or whatever, that if they're, anyway, I hope that it's flexible enough that there are obvious individuals that might be selected. I think that would be good. And I see you nodding. Okay, that's great. Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thanks, Your Worship. Through you, just very quickly, hopefully we get this agreement signed and can move on. We can get the place being used. I know a couple of times this summer I was out there with my boat and the place was empty. So it's a bit of a gem not to be used, and 12 months of the year, just not in the summertime.
Ditto. Ditto on that one too. Yes, would you like to respond?
So through you, Mayor Alcott. So part of the reason for bringing this back to council this month is to make sure that we can start drafting the agreement and get the legal process started so that when spring rolls around next year, the whole process is done, the agreement's signed, and we can just move forward.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thanks, Mayor Alcock, and I won't be long, but I just wanted to say that I'm glad that we're amending the trust rather than dissolving it. The last time this proposal was here, I wasn't a big fan of dissolving the trust, and I feel a lot more confident about what we're trying to do now as opposed to before, so I appreciate you working on it and seeing it to the end here.
Yeah, appreciate that. That's good. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thanks, Your Worship, and sorry to go on, but I like the idea of the flexibility in this agreement, the new agreement. That's what's landed us in this current situation, which has unfortunately cost a lot of time and money and no use to its full potential. So let's get people back there.
Okay, thank you for that. And with that, I did read the motion, so I will call the question. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you both for a great job. Okay, so moving along. Okay. Director Frame is still with us for the next item, 8.3, which is Report Number Corp 2025-64, commemorative naming Selkirk Diamond. And I do have a motion moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Deputy Mayor Armour. Be it resolved that staff be directed to proceed with option blank identified in Report 2025-64 with respect to the naming of the Macaulay Robertson Recreation Park Diamond F to Selkirk Diamond. Director Frame.
So I think all of the information is in the report, the summary of the community engagement that was done with respect to this naming application. So I don't have anything more to add than what's in the report, but I am available for questions.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Mayor Alcock, and through you. A lot of work went into this, not just this time, but I think the first request was many years ago. I'm heavily in favor of this. I know that the results were close, but in my opinion, that's why you do a survey. You know, you did the survey, it came out in favor of doing it. I feel bad. A lot of the people that were doing the survey probably didn't have all of the information about this man to make the decision. I've studied the heck out of it. I know the name. I've always known the name being a baseball guy. And the argument against it, of course, is, well, he lived here until he was 5 or 6 and he left. So why would we honor the guy? I totally get that, but there's a bigger part of it. His family, the Selkirk family, was related to the original Hunt family who founded our town. And I'll get this wrong probably, but an uncle or a grandfather, somebody was the first person to ever operate the swing bridge. His dad was the first mortician in Huntsville. One of them was a postman. Like, there's a long standing history with this family in this town. And then the other argument is, well, he left and never came back. Well, he did. I think it was Councillor Clark told me, Yogi Berra's book, he talks about when Yogi Berra, the famous Yankee, visited Huntsville with his friend George Selkirk. So yes, he moved. He didn't want to move. His family took him somewhere, right? I think he went down to the States. So I think the survey, if you just surveyed just the baseball community and they are the users that use it, it'd probably be 90% of the people. All the ones I've talked to from the baseball community really want this. I've also had a lot of phone calls from people that are against it, and they've got really good points too. But to me, survey says yes. The feedback, all of the work that's gone into it shows that it's a good thing. And you have one of the most accomplished Huntsville people of all time, although he was only here till he was 5 or 6. 2-time World Series champion, replaced Babe Ruth, invented the warning track, changed the baseball game forever. To me, it'd be a pretty cool thing to have. So that's my opinion.
Thank you for that, Councillor Morrison. Of the people that called who were opposed to it, was it mostly because he left when he was 5? Is that mostly?
It was partly that, like that he didn't contribute to baseball in Huntsville. He didn't play baseball in Huntsville. And I get that. But the argument I made was, if Wayne Gretzky was born in Huntsville, just on a vacation and then left and went somewhere else, we'd have a statue for him. You know, if Joe Carter, who won the World Series with the Blue Jays, happened to be born here and left 3 days later, there'd be a statue for him. So yeah, that's a bit of the argument. And the other thing is, and it's very valid, there are other community members in this community that have given a lot to the game of baseball, and they should be considered, and they absolutely should. We have more diamonds. There is more space for that. So, yeah.
Thank you for that response. That was helpful, very helpful. Councillor Renwick?
Thank you, Your Worship. And to follow what Councillor Morrison said, I was really on the fence with this one, and it wasn't until I did more research to find out more about Mr. Selkirk. But I think the process that we have brought up, and we talked about this morning with Riva, it was so close. It was 50-50 really between the two. In Scott's words, it was a survey, and the ones that were for it, they did say they won, but it was higher. The thing that was flawed with the survey was that the fact that anyone could vote, and that anyone could vote a number of times. So it may have been a bit of a skewed survey, but the survey did come back. So I will, I agree with that. I think the fact, and I think that's the biggest thing that I've spoken to with people, is the fact that he did leave and he really didn't contribute back to baseball as a community sport here. And I get that. I was at the Huntsville Hall of Fame inductees on Saturday night, and there were, quite a few athletes, and they really talked about Huntsville and the things that they gave back to Huntsville. So that was in the back of my mind too. But when you read what he's done, and Scott brought up a very good point. If it was Wayne Gretzky and he was born here, we would have we would have something for him. So this man did play in the major leagues. So I guess I've talked myself into it. I am in favor of, I would opt for having it named Selkirk.
Thank you for those comments. Councillor Cluche.
Food for thought for Councillor Morrison. In your conversations with everybody, and everybody knows Stan Remington is our Mr. Baseball for sure. What was his thoughts on this?
Stan, who has probably done as much for baseball as anybody in this town, and still does. He's out fundraising for the kids and everything else. He enthusiastically wants this to happen.
Good, thank you.
That's helpful too. Are there any other? Yes, Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mayor Alcock. Firstly, I want to say how much I appreciate what the Hornets do, Muskoka Hornets. I have a son who plays on one of the travel teams, and it's a great organization. We really do have a great organization here locally. I guess some thoughts here. George Selkirk, of course, was a great athlete. There's no doubt about that. Everybody agrees about that. As a Blue Jays fan, which I am, and a fan of the game, I guess I can look past the fact that he played, for their arch rival, which is the New York Yankees. Also known as the Evil Empire, of course, around Major League Baseball, and that's due to their great success and ability to basically pay more money than anybody else can pay for players. So I guess my thoughts are, the McCully Robertson complex is our hometown ballpark. And that's why I've really been struggling a lot with this decision, just like Councillor Renwick. I've been going back and forth about this one. There's such a large number of local people who stayed here, made lives here, who played, volunteered, and grew the game in Huntsville. And I guess in my mind, those are our local hometown heroes. And I struggle with if it's fair to put Selkirk before some of those people. And that's what I've been struggling with right from the beginning on this one.
Appreciate those comments, Councillor Clark. Are there any others? Okay, Councillor Morrison.
I just want to make a comment to validate Councillor Clark's last comment there. That is probably the only argument I would ever have for not doing this, is because we have so many people that have given back. But the good news is I've actually worked with another person to bring a person's name forward that highly deserves recognition. And we can do that too, right? It doesn't have to be an either or. It just happens to be that this one came before, but I hope that more community members bring those heroes to our table so we can honor them too.
Which I think is a very important point. I confess I've thought about this one as well, and I was sort of waiting to hear the arguments around the table because I fluctuated, but I'm inclined to support the naming of this for all the reasons that you presented, Councillor Morrison. And I probably should be speaking into my mic, but I always forget. I feel myself fading away. It was a difficult one, and but I think I'm inclined to support this application. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also am going to support this. I think contributions made deserve to be recognized, and there's ample opportunity for naming rights at many other facilities, which would be appropriate to their contribution to the communities. I'm going to support it.
Councillor Schumacher.
Yeah, I'm in full support as well, because part of the thing is the recognition that it did put Huntsville, and it puts Huntsville on the map, and I know that was one of the contributing factors and one of the things that we'd put out in the survey too. So I'm in favor of it, and it is Diamond F, so it is a little further away. So our A, B, and C can be our, our core Huntsville people, and Selkirk can keep F. Yeah.
All right, I think I need an amendment. Someone needs to put forward a yes, Councillor Cluche, which is we have to fill in the blank. Which recommendation, which option? If we look at our report, it would be either option 1. Yes. So is that what you're proposing? So we have that? All
Yes.
right. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Stone. All right. You want me to read it here or you? Oh, there we go. So I have a motion to amend, moved by Councillor Cluche, seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that the following be inserted after option 1, approve the proposed commemorative naming and proceed with the ordering and installing of necessary new signage for the naming of the baseball diamond at a cost not to exceed $500 to be funded through the approved 2026 Parks Operation Budget as. Questions or comments with respect to that motion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, and that carries. So I will call the main motion as amended. All those in favor? And all those opposed? And that carries. Okay, thank you everybody for a good discussion. Thank you, Reba, for the report. And I guess I won't sign those until, all right, so I just put option 1. No, I don't do that. I'm wrecking Tanya's process. All right, I'm moving right along to bylaws. It has been moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that bylaw numbers 2025-94 to 2025-102 inclusive be reported and passed this 22nd day of September 2025. And I don't have to read the rest, do I? Because I said it's inclusive. Correct. Any questions or comments? They are exactly as they were in our agenda package, and they are on the screen. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you, everybody. So we are moving. We don't have any previous business. We're moving to new business. And we have 2 items for discussion as a result of our deputations. Agenda items number 5.1 and 5.2. Do we have a proposed motion? Okay. This is a lengthy motion, so I think I'm going to ask council if I can waive the reading of it, put it on the table. If we'll put it on the screen. Councillor Stone is directing me to put it on the screen. So I do what Councillor Stone asked me to. This is with respect to the request around the unused funds of $7,500 from the original contribution from the town to go towards the Explorer's Edge new proposal with respect to funding the high school project with Lakehead University and the Ontario Tourism Education Corporation workshop. So that's essentially what this is about. Councillor Morrison.
I just want to make sure everyone's aware that's money that we have already given them. So they're not asking for more money. And I think it's a good spend. I think it's a really good pivot.
Thank you for that. I agree with you absolutely, especially around the high school. I was a bit like Councillor Renwick. I was surprised we didn't already, but even if we do, it's augmenting it, and I think that's a fantastic spend. $2,500 doesn't seem like a lot for that. Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. I support this motion also, but I just have a question because during the delegation, they mentioned the fact that the money was given to them by HMATA. So someone could clarify why we're saying they can spend HMATA's money, if that's true.
Was that ours
MAC?
from, it was our money that I think that's what it was. Unless Director McKenzie, would you? No, okay. All right.
Thanks
I think
for
that's,
clarification. He
I
just
think-
said HMATA, so
okay. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. So that was part of the collaboration. All right. Councillor Morrison, you have your
I was
hand
just
up?
going to say there's general confusion in the community of what HMATA is. They assume all the money that gets spent is HMATA. And when we spend it, they just still assume it's HMATA. So we'll make sure it's clear that it's our money. So.
Do have a motion moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Schumacher, whereas the Huntsville Lake Bays Chamber of Commerce has operated and maintained the Rivermill Park Rink project for the past several years, and whereas the Rivermill Park Rink project has been proven to be a successful amenity that benefits residents, local businesses, and visitors. Now therefore be it resolved that Council approves the Rivermill Park Rink project, that sounds a bit, Rivermill Park Rink project, to be delivered by the Chamber for a term of 5 years with the option of 3 extensions of 5 years each. And further that all park fees be waived annually for the partial use of Rivermill Park related to the rink. And further that the Director of Operations be authorized to sign a park service agreement with the Chamber, including the required insurance, indemnification, and roles and responsibilities relating to the rink. Questions or comments? Councillor Morrison.
Yeah, a question for maybe Director Frame and Director Bissonnette. So I love it, fully support it, makes so much sense. I'm assuming in the agreement, there's 3 5-year extensions possible. We would have to agree to those extensions or it's not their option, okay? And if during any of those 5-year terms, there's reasons we deem suitable to cancel, we can? Okay, perfect.
Thank you for asking that. That was a good question. Councillor Cluche.
Through you, Chair. Just wondering, with this agreement, are we going to get an annual report from Parks and Recs over this? Just to see how, just an update, that's all.
Well, the
Chamber,
Chamber
yeah.
will obviously give us a
Yeah.
report, but that could be part of our community. Yes. Director Frame, you have your hand up.
Through you, Mayor Alcock. So the Chamber's actually, as part of their memorandum of understanding with the town, they report back on all of their initiatives and all of the stuff that the great stuff that they do throughout the
Yeah.
year. So they can come back as part of that presentation.
Yeah, okay, no, just because some people change, right? So
Yep.
I
Yep.
just want to make sure that we have a little bit of control over that. Thank you.
Yep, that's great. Good question. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it provides them an excellent opportunity to secure long-term commitments from community partners to make it all happen financially for them. So fully support it.
Okay. I don't see any other questions, so I am going to call the question. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Moving right along. We needed a 2/3. What was that, Councillor Stone?
No,
It's Councillor Stone. It's Deputy Mayor Armour. Is he Deputy Mayor Armour? Is there something you'd like to share?
absolutely not. I'm just sitting over here minding my own.
Minding. Just minding my own business. There we go. All right, we are moving along to 11.2 with respect to the 2024 trust fund financial statements, and I do have a motion. A motion moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Deputy Mayor Armour. Be it resolved that the draft audited Town of Huntsville Trust Fund financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2024, as prepared by Pahapel and Associates, be received and approved. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. I have another motion moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that the draft audited Town of Huntsville consolidated financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2024, as prepared by Pahapel and Associates, be received and approved. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries as well. Get that. Okay, now we are moving to agenda item 11.4, and it is with respect to a new motion regarding a planning consultant for our CPP process. And on this one, I think I will read it, actually. And I know it's long, but I think I will read it. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Stone, seconded by Councillor Morrison. Whereas the strategic plan adopted by Council in January 2024 includes a focus on balanced growth, protected natural environment, and a commitment to review planning legislation and policies to support flexibility and optimize land use, including in rural areas to address different community needs. And whereas the Town of Huntsville official plan was adopted in 2019 and implemented a significant number of policies intended to ensure that natural heritage matters are evaluated through planning approvals. And whereas to implement the 2019 official plan, the Town of Huntsville established itself as a leader in Ontario in development review streamlining through the implementation of a town-wide community planning permit system. The Community Planning Permit Bylaw, CPPBL, in effect since January 2023. And whereas planning legislation and policies are continually evolving, and the need to streamline the development review process to support flexibility and optimize land use remains a strategic priority for the town. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to engage a consultant to initiate a policy and process review of the Community Planning Permit Bylaw to ensure that policies and procedures are in place that will achieve Council's commitment to balanced growth, protecting the natural environment, and development review efficiencies and streamlining. And further, that the review be funded from the Planning Policy Reserve. So, Councillor Stone, would you like to kick this one off?
I would. Thanks very much. So I'm very much in favor of this. It behooves me, or I really don't often like hiring consultants because I don't generally think they're always worth their money. But this one is a little different. With the CPP, we've had it was a big change in planning, and we made that change. There was a learning curve. We had staffing difficulties on our side, on our planning department, that hindered our progress. But after 3 years, I think it's generally working very well. However, there's room for improvement, and I think if we can find some efficiencies through this consultant coming in and helping us with the process, it's going to set us up for great success.
Thank you for that. That was a good kick-up. Councillor Morrison.
I echo what Councillor Stone is saying, fully support this. It's a massive part of our operation here at the town. I think we should be applauding the team that put this together. Our CPP is, our staff is being asked to speak at events about the implementation of our CPP. It was a gargantuan task. They did an amazing job. And now they're saying, hey, you know what? Let's look at making it the best it possibly can be. Fully support it, and I think it'll be a big, big win.
Thank you for that. Councillor Clark?
Thanks, Mayor Alcock. I have some comments, but I'm just wondering how much this consultation is going to cost, but I'll finish my comments and then someone can answer. But I just want to say I really hope that the consultant will be able to look at our our policies and procedures through a lens of common sense. I believe in some cases, not all cases, some cases, that decisions being made by staff on how policies are applied are costing both the public and the developers time and money. Our planning department, I think, could benefit from a simplified approach to building permits and processing applications. I can't speak for anybody else here, but I'm hearing from both the public and developers that the process is taking far too long in some cases. Again, not all cases, some cases. I would make a comment, though, based on the volume of calls that I receive about CPP and applications, that I think it's fair to say, at least from the people I've spoke to, that the public and developers are pretty frustrated with our CPP, if I'm being completely honest. So I also, as part of this consultation process, would really hope that the public and the developers would be able to have an opportunity for input into these consultations, since they're the ones that are using the system.
Okay, thank you for those comments. And did you want a response on the proposed cost? Director Maxwell, perhaps you'd like to respond to that.
Thank you, Your Worship. We really don't have any firm costs that we can provide, but I wouldn't imagine it would be more than $50,000 for this sort of a review, depending on how in-depth we needed to go with the different types of policies.
Okay. I just want to say that I'm hugely in favor of this motion, and I guess it's a follow-up to the last comment about the proposed cost. And I think I support what Councillor Stone said. By and large, a lot of people, we don't see a number of the applications that are approved because they get approved by staff. We see the ones that are having difficulty, and we hear from people in the public who are having difficulty. And so I think it's important to remember that. And I appreciate all of the work that our staff does spend on trying to make this process work. It is interesting that our manager of planning will be speaking at the Planners Association at the end of the month to talk about this particular permit process. And from my perspective, I think it's also useful for our manager of planning to say, our council recognizes that there are always, like there are in many new processes, there are issues. And why I think it's important to go to an outside consultant, I think it's harder for our staff to review the process internally, partially because they're working on all of the applications. So I don't know if they actually would have the time that would be required to do it. So I am hugely in support of this, because I do think we need to visit. The whole point of the CPP was to streamline our planning application process. And if we're not achieving that, I think it's important to know why we aren't and where some of the gaps are. So that's my view. As I said, I really support this, and I probably should have waited till the end before I made those comments, but you forget. So there we go. Councillor Schumacher.
Said that was probably my fault. I didn't have my hand up till you spoke, but I mean, yeah, I'm in favor of this. I do see Councillor Clark's points. Definitely, I think we need to involve the developers, and I know for myself, like when Mayor Alcock and I attended a couple of the Lake Association meetings, some of the big comments were like, this was supposed to be streamlined and easier, but I'm doing a dock and this person's doing a house, and it seems to be we're going through the exact same process for, two very different things, right? So let's look at the process. When we know better, we do better, right? So, and to your point, Mayor Alcock, that our staff are so involved. They're doing a great job, but they have so much on their plate. We have ballooned as a planning, entity as far as the town goes. They are doing extremely well with what they've got, but I think an outside view is the best for this.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Worship, and I appreciate all the comments so far. I think this gives us an opportunity to go out and get some expertise, that is fresh eyes for a look on our process and our policies. And, I don't believe that us sitting around the table have as much expertise or knowledge as the people that we're going to contract to come and review this. So it's going to be a big learning process for us as well. We're going to learn through this process, and I think it's money well spent. If we can streamline and improve some of the process, fantastic. And there may even be some policy change as a result of this too. So substantial amount of growth. Staff is working as hard as they can, and we need to find ways to improve.
Okay, Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'll be brief. I was on the same side as Councillor Stone. Initially, I don't like consultants to come in. I think sometimes they take up a lot of time and they take up a lot of money. But I think in this case, it is important. My initial thought too is why couldn't staff look at it, because they're the ones that are directly involved with it. But your point, they don't have the time to do it. My question was about how much it was going to cost, and that's been answered. The other question I have is the time frame, which maybe, I don't know if we would know how long that would take. But the other thing I wanted to just ask, and this is a fairly new process, the CPP, and where are we going to find experts that have actually worked in this? I mean, our staff are very good. They could be consultants for other municipalities. We don't want to get them to do that, but where are we going to find consultants? And I'm sure Director Maxwell knows that. But so time frame and who has the expertise to look at this?
Those are both great questions. Were you talking to Director Maxwell before? Because I think Director Maxwell would like to weigh in on both of those things.
Thank you.
Director Maxwell.
Timeframe, I would hope that we could get an RFP out quite quickly and see how quickly we could have someone come in and assist with the review. For experts in the field, the CPP system has been touted quite heavily over the last few years, and there have been a few other municipalities that have now started using them as well, and using them for different types of development. So I think that most of the planning firms in Ontario are becoming much more familiar with it and would be able to at least show us some options for doing things differently. So,
Thank you for that response. I just know that that was actually a part of a previous discussion. So Greg, great questions there, Councillor Renwick. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Alcog. Last comment for me. I guess I'm just wondering if someone can speak to the funding of this consultation. I think I see in the motion it's being funded from the Planning Policy Reserve. So just wondering what's the health like of that reserve?
Director Maxwell.
thank you. The Planning Policy Reserve is quite healthy. We build it up and then we use it for these larger projects. I know the next project that was budgeted for was the secondary plan for Huntsville North, but there is money already allocated through the budget for planning projects for this year. So,
Director McKenzie, would you like to add to that?
Certainly. So luckily I had this up. So we did have 105 that was already forecasted to come out for this year, and then another 100, sorry, it's moving on me, another 125 next year. So that will, if we add this into for the 50,000, it will put us in a deficit of 56,000 for this reserve.
So, but we haven't started the other projects.
That's correct. this is what we're forecasting based
that's
on what we
assuming
know.
we start those projects. So if we don't, and can I flip back to Director Maxwell as to the status of the other projects?
the I believe that the next project that we were hoping to do is the secondary plan, and that was scheduled to start this fall, if feasible. I'm not sure that will be feasible at the same time as doing this other one. So we may have to look at the priority of the planning projects the council has asked us to do, but we'll see what we can do.
Appreciate that. And so given what you just said, we would not be in a deficit situation then. Okay. All right, Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Worship. I guess I fully support this. I have some concern over there's no financial amount in the report. Is there a comeback to council amount that we go over, or does this fall back onto policy? Just like some clarification.
That's
on
a
the
good
upside
point.
number.
You mean like an upset limit? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, or
CAO
if policy, which obviously I'm not familiar with every little detail of
Okay,
policy.
I'm going to
procurement.
ask CAO Corey to weigh in on this.
Thank you, Worship. So a very valid question and one that we struggle with all the time when we're trying to go out for procurement. You do a motion, you put an amount in the motion, and then all the bids come back, $5 under that amount. So I struggle with that. The other option is you could put as deemed appropriate by the CAO or the Director of Development Services. But to Director Maxwell's point, typically a consultant we're seeing between the $50,000 and $70,000 range, but we don't know the magnitude of the work that's required for the review. So it could come in at $20,000. It could come in at $100,000, which I would hope that it wouldn't. But to Her Worship's point, if council would feel more comfortable with putting a capping in, we absolutely can add that into the motion.
Thank you,
Councillor
Madam
Fitz.
CEO. I would just feel more comfortable. I think some people's opinion may change if the number is upside of $100,000. I don't know. I can only speak for myself, but I would feel more at ease if we had an upside and come back to council for further discussion.
Okay, do you have a proposal?
Is it $80,000? That's, the number I'm comfortable with to do what we want to do, but then we don't know about the depth of how far the consultant's going. So maybe it does need to come back.
I'm going to go to Deputy Mayor Armour. I heard a groan over there. Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm just thinking I believe we should leave it blank for now, and I think that they should go for the RFP.
Yeah.
And then see what comes back, and if it's not within a range that they feel comfortable, bring it back to this table.
That's what I
And we
think.
can look at it then and make a decision based then. Like,
I think that actually makes sense. And if it comes back and if everything is outrageous, then certainly it's coming back to council, right? I would, if we were putting in an upset, I think my upset would be 60,000. But Councillor Cluche?
Through, if we're putting out an RFP, what are we putting in it? Like the guidelines that we're putting in, we should have some idea of the cost, what it's going to cost us. Should we not? Like in what we're asking them to do. Okay, like if we leave it an open book, well, they're going to think that they have to do a whole bunch
But
of
it
stuff.
won't, this is where I think we're getting, I think we are micromanaging because we are asking our Director of Development Services to prepare an RFP that will give a fairly good direction as to what we are looking for. And I think that through discussions we've had, there's fairly good direction. So are you asking that would you like her to come back to council to look at the RFP? Is that what you're?
No, but I'm just saying that whatever we put in the RFP should kind of give us a
Which should
ballpark
give us an idea.
of what
And-
in the ballpark figure. Do we want to tear it right down, or do we just want to peek out and look in through the window?
No,
You
we
know,
don't want to tear it right. What the direction
No,
I think
I
we've given
understand
is,
that,
yeah.
but I mean, if we know, then we can work it. And like right now, it's pretty hard for us to put a number on it if we don't know the exact what we're asking somebody to do.
Which is why I kind of like the deputy mayor's suggestion that we can ask staff to go out with the RFP. They have a fairly good idea of what we're looking for. We've talked about streamlining and the efficiencies, looking for the issues that have come up. Is it a relationship with our official plan? Are these the things? So I believe our director has a very good sense of what we're looking for. That will go out in the RFP. They've also given us an idea of what they think the range would be, given other studies that are equivalent to this. So from my perspective, I'm comfortable with that. But Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mayor Alcock. I'm okay with not putting an amount in the motion. I agree with Deputy Mayor Armour's comments, but I do think that I would be more comfortable if it came back to council and we had a final chat about it, whatever that amount might be, like we would do with any other item. I think that would be the proper approach on this.
I would certainly support that. Is that something that CAO Corey?
Thank you, Worship. Certainly, if that's the direction council gives, the other option is that the director be directed to proceed not to exceed her budget allocation for 2025 in her consulting budget. That allows parameters, and we understand what, council is looking for, so we could do that. Otherwise, we would do the RFP and we'd have to report back to council. So as long as council's okay with a bit of a delay, then we could do that.
All right, council, what, are you comfortable? I'm actually comfortable with that suggestion not to exceed the director's parameters. I think that actually isn't bad because that means that it won't put us in a deficit situation. Councillor Renwick?
Thank you, Your Worship. And just to clarify then, because there was a mention of 105,000 for a secondary plan and 125,000, that's for next year. Right, so it could come, we don't really want to go into a deficit within the reserves, right? So I think whatever her cap is, that's what we want to stay within. So I would agree with that suggestion for sure.
Suggestion. Councillor Fitzgerald.
To make this happen in a timely fashion, I'm totally agree with that. I think it's a good opportunity.
Okay. Councillor Morrison.
I guess it'd be good just to know, what is that budget? Like, what is that exact, what could it not exceed?
Director McKenzie?
The total for planning was 155,000. So that was 100,000 for the secondary plan, 5,000 for height and density, and the 50,000 for the rural area policy review.
Follow up, just so what does that leave for this in the budget?
We haven't started the secondary plan.
That's correct.
So that is 100,000 for the secondary plan. And as I understand what the director said, I can flip it over to Director Maxwell. But given this will delay the secondary plan. And my guess is bump it to next year, and then it's the discretion of the director as to which ones we proceed with next year. And I would ask the director if you would come back to council, given there's been a change in direction.
Thank you. Probably, I would think so, that, because if we have to, depending on what comes of the CPP review, there may be recommendations to do certain things in a different order as well with our planning priorities for our projects. So that, I think it will have to be a bit fluid, so.
Councillor Morrison?
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to delay any other projects because we've given direction to do them, but I guess still, does that mean that the number's 100,000 then? Like we're saying don't go over 100?
We're leaving that to the discretion of the director. I mean, we're saying we don't want you to exceed the budget. Your approved budget is 155, but a couple of those studies have already started, the height and density, and two have already started, I think. So the one that hasn't is the one for 105,000, which is the secondary plan, which is very important. We've identified that as very important. So I would think it would make sense for the director to come back to council as we decide as we proceed with this particular study to say, well, this is what needs to be bumped next year or deferred. Because I agree, I don't think we want to put her in a deficit situation. Yes.
I guess, does that mean if we defer the secondary plan, the budget is 105,000, the cap?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. All right. I think we've discussed this one. So I don't think we do have an amendment. I think we've exhausted the discussion around, right? Okay. No, we don't have an amendment. So I am going to call the question. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you all for a great discussion around this. All right, moving to the next item. It is 11.5 Rotary Club of Huntsville various installations. And I do have a motion moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Councillor Schumacher, whereas the Rotary Club of Huntsville has been a long-standing community partner, and whereas over several years, the Town of Huntsville councils have approved various installations by the Rotary Club of Huntsville throughout various town parks and trails, and whereas town staff recommend an overarching agreement be put in place to assist with clarifying roles and responsibilities regarding the various installations. Now therefore be it resolved that council directs staff to prepare an agreement with the Rotary Club of Huntsville outlining roles and responsibilities for the various installations by the club with a term of 5 years and allowing for up to 3 extensions of 5 years each. And further that the Director of Operations be authorized to sign a park service agreement with the Rotary Club of Huntsville. Who is speaking to this? Director Frame, are you speaking to this?
I can.
You are, okay, perfect, thank you.
So, through you, Mayor Alcock. So this is just something, we have a number of different projects, different installations throughout town parks and trails. Like, for example, the Avery Beach Garden, there's benches on Ferry Vista Trail and the Hunters Bay Trail. There's a wonderful Rotary rock and little garden area at John Street and King William. So there's a number of different installations that have been approved by councils over the years. And we really don't have sort of a park service agreement for these installation on town properties. So it's really just an administrative thing to clarify roles and responsibilities, make sure everybody knows who's supposed to be doing what. And we did meet with 3 members of the executive of the Rotary Club of Huntsville, and they were super, enthused about the idea to have this agreement. It's really just to make sure we're all on the same page, and for existing projects that are already in our parks and trails.
Thank you for that. Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Reva, for that report. Just to clarify, too, that we already have agreements with Rotary in regard to the band shell, in regard to the skate park. So there are existing agreements. So this is just an extension of some of the other items that may come forward or that are already existing, correct?
Director Frame?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Alcock. So that is correct. We do have an agreement for the band shell. So that is kind of a separate thing. The skateboard park, I'm not sure, I need to check with our clerks. We haven't gotten into the nitty gritty of the agreement and all of that stuff. This is just looking for direction to be able to create that agreement and work with the Rotary Club on the creation of it.
Great, thank you. Councillor Schumacher.
So I know Peter's in the audience here. Is the one at John Street and the Century Garden, that's the Rotary Club of North Muskoka, correct? So are you doing it with each of the clubs that have them? Because there are 3 actual Rotary clubs in Huntsville.
That's a good question. Director Frame.
So there are kind of 2 separate installations. So there's one on the corner by Canvas. There's the rock with the Rotary insignia on it. That's the one I was talking about. The Sensory Garden across the street is the Rotary of North Muskoka, and we have talked to a member of their executive already, and they were sort of enthusiastic about exploring an opportunity for agreement with them as well. We do have an agreement with them for the Sensory Garden already, though, so this is just really updating that one later.
Okay, thank you for that, and thank you for the question. Any other questions? I don't see any, so I will call the question. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you for the work on that, Reba. All right, and one more motion. It has been moved by Councillor Schumacher, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that the following change to the 2022-2026 Accessibility Advisory Committee membership adopted by Council Resolution 27-23 be approved. Deletion, Stanley Molson. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Okay, so now we are moving right along to general information, and starting with our District of Muskoka update. We had a Committee of the Whole meeting in September, which was a pilot project. It was the first time that District Council met, not just to meet as a council, but to meet with all of the committees at the very same time. So it was, I know, it was a long meeting, but they gave us lunch, so that was nice. And so it was an interesting experiment, and but we will still do our report. We've got Councillor Fitzgerald on District Council, August 21st. Why do we have, I don't think, are you doing a report? No. So he attended for me, so you just wanted to highlight that? I think we'll pass unless he's,
Your worship,
yes?
there was
You
nothing-
attended on my behalf, and I
did.
appreciate that.
And the only thing I have to report is the new initiative on taking a moderate approach to improve how we handle waste and how we deal with waste and look at other opportunities. So that's really the highlight that would come out of what I would report on your behalf.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you going on my behalf. That was great. So we are going to now go to Deputy Mayor Armour, and you have a couple to report on here. EPW, there was a special meeting August 21st.
Yeah, on August 21st, we had a special meeting on a couple delegated decisions, but they had to do Mount View Force Main. So we awarded a contract there to the tune of $3 million. And then we also awarded another contract with Scott Street Water and Road Improvements, and that was for paving and to D-Rock paving, and that was $468,000. So it was a very quick meeting just to approve those. And then we had another meeting at the Committee of the Whole, and the EPW aspect of that, there's a few things, but the biggest part, I think, was there was a report on the backflow prevention program, and there's some questions brought up about not-for-profit organizations like churches, etc., maybe getting some reduced rates for these backflows. We also had a discussion on low-volume road strategies. So there's actually, they talked about maintenance aspect of these roads, maybe some of them returning the gravel, etc. It was good. So basically, we just really approved them to go through the district transportation network and come up with a policy on low volume roads. And I think that was about it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Armour. And I thought that discussion round, and this is one of the advantages of having Committee of the Whole, because the discussion sort of veered off for a little bit, and we started talking a little bit about the whole concept of perhaps downloading roads. And that lasted a little while. So thank you for that report. Councillor Fitzgerald, did you want to ask?
I did have a question for Deputy Mayor Armour, but I did watch most of the Committee of the Whole, and it was quite interesting. So do they have any estimates of the cost of these backflow preventers?
You know, there was numbers mentioned, but it ranges in different prices depending on the industry. So something like, it's if Kimberly Clark was on water and sewer, then backflow prevention would be a lot more expensive there. And a lot of it has to do with annual cost, because it has to be tested annually and stuff like that. So upwards of $10,000, I believe.
Yeah, because I know we have had incidents where that's been an issue in Huntsville in the past. So be good to know.
Thank you for that question. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mayor Alcock. I can maybe give Councillor Fitzgerald a little bit of information on that, because I had a property where I had installed 2 of those devices, and they were about, I would say, $3,500 at each of the buildings that I had to put them in. Both those buildings were low use water facilities, and but there would be ongoing costs for coming every year for rechecking. So yeah, it's not a cheap undertaking for property owners that are having to comply with it.
Thank you for that input. That was great. Yep. Councillor Fitzgerald.
When I'm curious minds, I don't know what happened to me today. Is it going to be mandatory?
Already is mandatory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is why there was the discussion around the
Yeah, reducing It's fees. mandatory, but not everyone has been compliant yet.
Yeah.
So that's why he's bringing it up. And some of the places that aren't compliant are like your churches that are having difficulty fundraising, getting the money for low volume, we'll do 4 times a month basically.
Right.
So those are some of the holdbacks.
Well, that was a good discussion around that. Thank you.
Just like it was at council.
Yes, I know. It was interesting. All right, we'll move to health services. Anything to report there from the September 15th meeting?
There
Councillor
wasn't a lot. I will mention a couple things under new business. We're hiring a firm to fundraise, create a fundraising campaign for the for Fairburn Long-Term Care Home, in order to recoup some of the huge expense that is. We also approved the purchase of power stretchers to go in the ambulances. But a more exciting thing in the news that didn't happen at committee, but I'll mention it, the community paramedicine program finally got permanent ongoing funding, which is fantastic. It's an amazing program here in Muskoka. And I was part of the AMO team that spoke with the Minister of Health at AMO last year in order to get this to happen, and it finally came through. So great news.
Yeah. Thank you for announcing that. That's great. Any questions? Councillor Stone, seeing none. Councillor Morrison, anything to report from FCS?
Yeah, there wasn't much on FCS and the committee of the whole meeting. The only thing that I might bring up is Huntsville councillors supported and brought forward a motion for severances of small lots in areas where local improvement charges apply. And the background is that back in the day, this was a 2003 local improvement. And back in the day, you paid the $8,000 and you got your lateral connected, and 15% of that $8,000 went to the cost of the lateral. Well, now with indexing, it's at $17,600 per lot, and it's upwards of 50 grand to connect, to bring your own lateral in, dig down because it's so deep. So we're looking at, if someone's going to build affordable units, we'll look to forgive that amount to encourage more small lots. This would take a 22-meter lot into 2 11-meter lots and potentially create 4 housing units. So it was a great discussion, and it looks like we made some progress on that.
And Councillor Morrison, I have to say thank you. You were a bit of a pit bull on that, and that was good. That was great. And you did a lot of work with the chair and the CAO to come up with that alternative wording, because I'm not sure if we hadn't had that, how council would have treated that issue. So, and it was unanimous, I think, with the alternative wording. So thank you for that. That was really great progress.
I'm glad you brought out that. What I learned, as we do here at the Huntsville table, it was successful because I worked with the staff to come up with something that works for everybody, as opposed to me just bulldozing through and trying to get something I just wanted. Because the staff have all the expertise, and Chair Lehman, Commissioner Olimer, and CEO Stevens, we all work together and come up with something really good. So yeah, really good.
So much appreciated on that. So I just have 2 items that came under the CAPS portion of the committee of a whole. And we had a fulsome discussion around Amendment 6 to the Town of Huntsville official plan, which everyone around this table will know is the alternative rural residential lot standards. And we had proposed at this table to have, if people come in, that they would be able to sever rural residential lots at 1 acre and with a 60-meter frontage. And as we know around this table, that we actually went against staff advice, and staff advice was 1 hectare and 90 meters. But it was unanimous around this table, and it went to district, and the district report supported our staff recommendation of 1 hectare and 90 meters before coming to council. And so there was a lot of debate around the table, and after a lot of debate, there was a fairly significant voice against this council's recommendation, because there were concerns that this would set a precedent perhaps for other municipalities in Muskoka, and that there might be implications for the environment. And so there was a healthy debate, I might say, around this. The final vote in favor of the Town of Huntsville Council's amendment was, I think, 13-9 in support of the Town of Huntsville Council's amendment. So we were successful in getting our amendment passed, and after, as I said, a lengthy discussion. And it still now needs to be approved at the next district council meeting, which will be held in October. And yes, Councillor Renwick.
Sorry, just to clarify, that was done at the Committee of the Whole?
It was.
And the vote
Because
was,
Committee of the Whole was a combination of all of the committees working collectively as one whole. But even issues that were approved at Committee of the Whole still need approval at District Council.
but is that not still the same? It's still the Committee of the Whole.
It's District Council. It's
Right,
just,
okay,
it's
yep.
just the same. I know it's a bit confusing because
the
we're
vote-
all there, we all voted.
Yeah, okay.
But we all voted on a committee report.
Right,
A Community and Planning and Services Committee report.
So
So
hopefully that
now
won't change.
officially, it has to be approved by District Council. It is possible that a District Councillor can have that item pulled when we consider it at District Council. I'm just saying that's possible. So, more to that perhaps to come. So, and the only other item I thought was worth mentioning is there was a report by staff looking at decommissioning of housing units on Pinedale Road in Bracebridge, Gravenhurst, and Meadow Park Drive in Huntsville. And these are district-owned properties that were under consideration for an asset management review study looking specifically at district-owned housing. And they have been identified as being in a state of disrepair, and they were proposing that council direct staff to look at doing more work at perhaps decommissioning those with the potential of rebuilding or redeveloping those sites. So we did approve that. We did approve staff to go forward and look at that, which could potentially mean that we would be looking at a new project for Meadow Park in Huntsville, which would have more housing and more affordable housing. So kind of exciting for Huntsville. That was a big move forward. So that's it from me on that. And we now move to, we have council correspondence in your package from July 18th to September 12th. And we do have some events and updates. I ran into Lowell Grebe at the Terry Fox Run, and he mentioned that we had some outstanding athletes in our area. When he did, I said, can we get the information so that I can just read their names publicly? The first one actually is from Perry Township, but does a lot of his training here in Huntsville. And is part of the Huntsville Mountain Bike Association. Cole Punchard, and was part of the 2025 UCI World Mountain Bike Championships in Switzerland. And the team in the Team Canada Relay, as part of Team Canada, they came in 4th by 1 second. They also won a bronze medal, U23 short track race, and he also won a silver medal, U23 cross country Olympic race. And I thought that was really worth noting. We also had another Riker Harris from Port Sydney and Daniel Perry from Port Sydney, who are going to the 2025 ICF Canoe Slalom World Championship in Australia on September 29th to October 4th. Pretty cool. These are our own, and I just thought it was worth mentioning. We also, there's a question. Yes, Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Mayor Alcock. Through, love that we recognize those athletes. Let's like to add one more name in the kayaking, Daniel Perry, as well as Owen McKay. Daniel Perry you did mention, but Owen McKay as well as a young gentleman who's been targeted by the Canadian Olympic Association as a top 30 athlete in the field, and he's actually carded and being paid by Canada now to train. This kid takes his own boat, goes by himself to France for 4 or 5 weeks at a time and trains. So these guys are doing amazing things.
That's, appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for that. I just think it's so cool that, wow. So neat. Yes, Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Worship. If I may I add 2 events that I could just mention that have happened in the past couple of little while.
Yep.
One in particular, and because the executive director of the BIA is here, but the Harvest Feast that happened weekend ago, it was absolutely amazing.
Awesome.
And I must say that our councillors represented the pie contest extremely well. So Councillor Stone, Councillor Schumacher, and Your Worship, they tasted pies and they made their decisions. So, but there was music, there was dancing, there were horse rides, there was milking machines. Honestly, my kudos to the BIA and your team, and I think the Rotary was very involved with it as well. But well done, very well, excellent event, excellent event. Yeah, actually, he deserves a round. Rachel was out there in the morning putting out hay bales, which some of them are still out there, and she had the hockey teams come down and help with the straw on the poles. Like, this woman is just unbelievable. So yeah, thank you, Rachel, for the work that you do, for sure. The other event that I went to, and I've never been to this, I couldn't believe, but the Huntsville Hall of Fame.
Yep.
It was the first time it was actually held in the theater. And I thought I would just go and say a few words on behalf of the mayor, but I ended up staying for the whole night, and I was in awe of it. Like, it's just the celebration of our athletes and athletes that have gone away and have come back, or that still talk about our town. It was really, it was quite moving. And actually, they had all of the young women from the hockey team, the under 11, that won the $30,000 for their good deeds. They were there and they got to go up on stage. So showcasing our lovely theater and showcasing all the sport and activity that happens in our town. It was a proud moment for many people. So happy to share that.
And thank you for doing that, and thank you for attending. I agree with you. That one it is quite moving. There's so much going on, and that's good in our community. And at the Heritage Fall Fair, I was struck by how busy our downtown was that day. It was just it was just rocking. And I echo what Councillor Renwick said. Thank you. To both of you, both representatives here today. It was just such a great event. And the pie tasting was a lot of fun, although we only had 4 pieces of pie. I was all for having participation ribbons, but Councillor Stone didn't agree with that. So we could only hand out first and second prize. There we go, Councillor Fitzgerald.
There was a rumor floating around that Councillor Stone wouldn't share one of the pies with everyone.
He was particularly taken with one particular pie, and is there anything you'd like to add, Councillor Stone, or have we done it?
I love the one apple pie. It was truly amazing. I ate all of mine and my co-judge as well.
All right. Thank you for that. And we do have the Heritage Fall Fair October 3rd to 5th at Muskoka Heritage Place. And also Orange Shirt Day, the march and gathering on Tuesday, September 30th. The march will start at Rivermill Park at 11 a.m., followed by the gathering back at Rivermill Park at 11:45. And today we did have the Hope Arises project flag raising. And what else? The clock tower lighting, September 22nd to 30th. So that was today. And I've just mentioned the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, which is September 30th. And also Muskoka Breastfeeding Coalition. That is Thursday, October 2nd. And that is also a flag raising, is it not? I think it is, in Civic Square. So that's that. And Oh, sorry, events, Councillor Schumacher.
Oh, well, I wasn't sure because Councillor Fitzgerald wasn't paying attention, so I'm sure he's going to talk about October 4th. Or are you? Or the past one?
The turkey dinner in Port Sydney, I believe it's our
Yes.
70th annual. So we're always looking for volunteers and we're always looking for hungry people because we feed them a full turkey feast. There are fireworks this year.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And then for past events, Councillor Fitzgerald can add to, we both dressed up nicely in our 1920s garb for the 100th anniversary of the Port Sydney Hall as the community hall. And that was on the 13th of September, well attended, got a good history of the hall itself. And then a couple other events that I did attend a couple weeks ago. The Stisted Fall Fair was on September 3rd, 4th, can't remember, 5th maybe, 6th actually, Saturday the 6th, and it was the 140th this year for the Stisted Fall Fair. And they talked about the history where families in the area would come for the whole weekend and camp on that property, and they used to do a whole weekend out of it. And so it was just amazing again to see the turnout. And then I did for you just last Saturday do the Veterans Walk in Huntsville. It wasn't as well attended as we probably would like, I guess because the fall fair was on as well at the same time, but it's a good initiative. Hopefully it will keep going.
And thank you for that update. And thank you, everybody, for attending. It sounds like I don't go to anything anymore. But thank you to Councillor Fitzgerald, Renwig, Schumacher, anybody else. I was at Terry Fox, and I was at the Heritage. I bought it. I acquired a painting at that one. That was a lot of fun. All right, everybody, should we have a break before we go into close? Yes, we should have a break. So a break for 10 minutes? Okay. And then we don't read we're not reading anything to go, right? Yeah, okay. All right. Okay. Welcome back, everybody who might still be watching our council meeting. We are now moving into close, so I do have a motion moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Councillor Clark. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public, commencing now at 7:44 p.m. for the purpose of considering the following matters pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001. F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Update on 2024 cybersecurity incident and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, the OLT appeal, OLT 2500636, CPPA 19-2025, Summit GP Inc. 119 and 195 Town Line Road East. And 3, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality. This is a verbal update on report OPS 2025-13 land acquisition. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. All right, we are back from a closed session meeting, and in fact, we do have some business arising from our closed session. I have a motion that has been moved by Councillor Stone, seconded by Deputy Mayor Armour. Be it resolved that the Ontario Land Tribunal be advised that the town of Huntsville will be participating in case number OLT-25-00636, and further that any costs associated with this appeal be funded from the Reserve Ontario Land Tribunal. All those in favor? And that carries. Another motion, and it has been moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Morrison. Be it resolved that confirmation bylaw 2025-103 be received and passed this 22nd day of September 2025. All those in favor? And that carries too. And finally, I have a motion moved by Councillor Cluche and seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 9:06 p.m. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you, everybody, for a productive meeting.